And so we move on to the fifth constitution of the Synod of Cashel, which is, quote, that in the case of a murder committed by laymen and of the compounding for it with their enemies clergymen, their relatives are not to pay part of the fine, or eric, but that as they were not concerned in the perpetration of the murder, so they are to be exempted from the payment of money. An example from Irish mythology of the imposition of the eric can be seen in the story of the Sons of Tuireann. In this tale we see that Lew of the Long Hand is at Tara when he hears of the Fomor landing in Ireland. Lew seeks the assistance of Nuada, the king, in battling the Fomorians. Nuada, however, declines to get involved in this battle, as it has not directly affected him. So Lew, disappointed, leaves Tara. Heading west, he meets into his father Cian, along with his two brothers Cú and Ceann, sons of Coint. All agree to aid each other in the coming conflict. With plans made, Cian heads out on his own, and after some time riding north, he spots 3 armed men in the distance. These were the 3 sons of Tuireann, whom Cian and his brothers had continuous quarrels with. Trying to avoid them, he uses a druid's wand and turns himself into a pig, and mingles with a nearby gathering of pigs who were rooting up the ground. But it wasn't enough. The sons of Tuireann had spotted Cian. Having seen through Cian's magic, they get to Cian. Cian then asks for the protection of the tree. Brian declines this, stating that if Cian was to find life 7 times, Brian would kill him each and every time. Cian asks to be allowed to take his natural form, and this is agreed to. Brian and his 2 brothers then kill Cian. Cian's last thoughts and words were that his son Lew would discover what had become of him. Further away, Lew's travels had led him to the Fomorians. Cutting a long story short, Lew defeated the leader of the Fomor, Brez. Brez asked for Lew's protection and Lew granted it. This shows the honour that was expected in the treatment of enemies who sought protection from the Irish. Following this, Lew speaks of his father's killing at Tara and confronts the Sons of Tuireann. While not admitting to the murder, they agreed to pay the fine as if they were the ones who killed him. The fine was for the Sons of Tuireann to retrieve many treasures from around the world. They complete these tasks, but it brings them to death's door. Brian asks their father Tuireann to seek the healing of Lew so that they may not die. Lew denies this, and Brian and his brothers die, along with their father Tuireann. All in all, Lew had extracted the fine from those who committed the murder of his father. However, they did not admit to this themselves, but they did agree to the fine. This deceptive element likely caused their father to die along with them, at least in the story. And there are many interesting aspects to the story which I go over in another video. So in practical life in Ireland, an eric was defined as the fine imposed for separating body from soul, whether intentional or not. There was a distinction between manslaughter or accidental killing and intentional murder, but neither went unpunished. There also seems to have been a recognition in different elements relating to the murder. For example, if a person was secretive in the killing, if they were deceptive and attempted to get away with it, there would be an additional fine for this. If a person refused to pay this fine or to stand accused, then their family would be held liable. The family could suffer the consequences of one of their own's malice or stupidity. So what does this tell us? It tells us that individuality and honesty was held in high regard, as one could have less fines imposed by admitting to their guilt of the murder. Or even if the murder was committed out in the open, as there was no secrecy in it, there was no deceptiveness. You were punished less severely if you were open and honest, even in a malicious act. This might have encouraged people to be more honest in admitting their guilt. So you would be less likely to have, potentially, people committing crimes, hiding them, and continuing committing more crimes. In theory, anyway. Moreover, by including the family in the punishment if their family member committed a crime and showed no signs of trying to atone for it, dishonour would be cast onto the person's family, and they would then need to pay a fine for this. They would need to restore their family's name, their family's honour. So what does this mean for a society? It means that there'd be a strong, if not intense, force applied for people to conform to certain codes of conduct, in action and in speech. Your actions and your words, be they honest or not, had a direct bearing on one's family, and not just yourself. This focus, which the Church and Crown sought to eradicate, and have done so if compared to today, would put pressure on people to take a serious interest in the moral character of their children and other family members. It would also force them to make better choices themselves, as they would have recognized, as we do today, that the apple does not fall far from the tree. This perspective would diminish the acceptability of blaming their child or their child's actions on just being around the wrong type of people. This sort of securing of the moral goodness in each family member, while it could also be used or aimed at ill, would, when aimed at honesty, be a serious glue that bound each to their family and each family to their tribe. This would be another leg of the table of Irish culture and social cohesion that was now being attacked and chopped off. While one can say, sure, if you do the crime, you must do the time, it's not your family's fault, we must recognise that that is a modern tongue speaking those thoughts. However, for the Irish person who respected this sort of justice, they could easily say, it is not our fault, but it was and is our responsibility to redeem ourselves, to redeem our family's name. That's a powerful, powerful way of looking at things, because you have drastically different moral characters going around if you don't get the cop out. So the Synod of Cashel has now been seen to have attacked the culture and tribal living of Ireland by altering their marriage arrangements, banning certain types of marriage, by destroying initiation rituals for mature adults and diluting them to be indoctrination rituals for Irish babies. The Church assured the transfer of wealth from the Irish to the Church only went one way and stayed that way. Age-old obligations from the holy men and the leaders of the tribe to the people of the tribe was eradicated, as the Church had no longer any obligation to the community. They sold you salvation of your soul as their interest and their purpose, and the price you paid was your land, your home, and your future, as they took it all.